Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? It's your boy Isaac,
And this is your boy Bryce.
and we are brothers on tennis. And folks, you know I'm excited. You know I'm happy. This is somebody we have been wanting to interview for a very, very long time. And it just so happens that we ended up running into him this year, and boom, 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 the interview is happening. So, Bryce, I'm going to kick it over to you to do a quick intro so that we can get into our discussion.
Look, if you have watched 5 minutes of the Tennis Channel, you know who this guy is. Steve Weissman. I mean, he really runs the show on there with a lot of our favorite guests and co-hosts and panelists and analysts on the show. And he's always the guy to bring the energy. But, you know, there's much more to Steve than the Tennis Channel. He has a whole career that started before the Tennis Channel, and we look forward to hearing about that today. But without further ado, let's bring the guy up. Steve, welcome to Brothers on Tennis.
Thank you so much for having me. It has finally happened. It took far too long, but I'm privileged to be here. Thank you for having me, and I'm excited to chat.
Good stuff, Steve. Good stuff. Well, first and foremost, Steve, I mean, everybody, of course, knows you as it relates to Tennis Channel Live. You are the one that holds it down. But I don't know if a lot of the listeners/viewers really know about your history. So why don't you kind of fill us in as far as your background, kind of how you came up, how did you get introduced to tennis, and let's start from there.
Yeah. I grew up right outside DC in Silver Spring, Maryland. And I've known since third grade that I wanted to be a sports broadcaster. I did a project back then in elementary school and got to interview a guy named Glenn Brenner, who was the main sportscaster for Channel 9 in DC. And he was kind of my hero growing up. I watched him on TV every night and, got to get his autograph on a headshot and a few little life lessons from him. And that was kind of it. I started playing tennis when I was around 7 or 8. And because I have an older brother and he was playing with a friend of his and I kind of always trailed along. And so, it became the sport that I was most proficient at. I played a lot of sports growing up, but, I was best at tennis. So, started training, during the winter and really all year long, ended up playing number one singles my junior and senior year in high school. Still, I'm just incredibly grateful for the sport of tennis and all that it has provided me. I call it the 3 Fs. So, physical fitness I've gotten from tennis, lifelong friendships I've gotten from tennis, and financial freedom I've gotten from tennis. And so I'm just so thankful that the sport was brought into my life and, I wouldn't be here now without it. And so it's been pretty awesome.
So I hear you play first singles in high school. Did you play any collegiate tennis?
I did not. I went to Northwestern and they were too good for me. So I was in the same fraternity as all the tennis players, but I was not on the team.
Interesting. So at least were you at least rallying or going back and forth with them at all, or when you hit college?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I'll hit all the time. I mean, today after TC Live, I'm supposed to hit with Monica Puig. I hit with Tracy Austin on my birthday. I've hit with Lindsay. I mean, so, I have a pretty high standard when it comes to, I'm really, privileged to be able to play tennis with, some of my heroes, some of my friends and folks that have reached a really high level. And so that kind of drives me as well. And I want to be able to, rally and be on that level and not have it be a burden for any of these folks to come out on the court with me.
Well, and that was my follow-up question. So for somebody, I played first singles in high school as well. I've not hit, I would say, with a professional before. So what is it like? And I'm not even saying that you and I are on the same level. You may need some work to get there. But,
what high school did you go to?
I went to Princeton High School in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Okay. I hear they have a really good varsity tennis team. So
kind of. But, I grew up going to the Western and Southern. But for someone like us, what is it like hitting with a professional, ex-professional like that?
It's the best because, I mean, for me at this point, it's not about competition. I've had that part of my life. It's about a workout and they don't miss a ball. They hit every ball perfectly clean, sweet spot of the strings every single time. And so it just makes me, out on court hitting balls I'll hit for 2 hours, 3 hours, it doesn't matter. I'd rather do that than be on the treadmill for 20 minutes. It's just a happy place for me, a lot of nostalgia there. And so, basically they just don't miss balls. And so it's perfect. You just keep rallying forever.
So break down the Steve Weissman game. What are the strengths? What are the weaknesses? I mean, what's going on with your game, Steve?
Yeah, I mean the strengths, as Chanda would tell you, Tracy would tell you. My backhand is my strength.
What are two-handed?
Two-handed backhand, down the line, probably my favorite shot. That's my go-to, hit a winner shot down the line backhand. Forehand's gone through a lot of consternation over the years, but we're getting better. We changed grips maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, and that's been something that I've been working with. Tracy did tell me that I'm hitting it a lot better the other day, so that gave me some confidence. The net game, I like coming forward and finishing points off at the net. It can always get better. I think everything can get better. Serve used to be good, but I don't really serve that much anymore. It's just I'm not playing game sets matches. I'm hitting cross score. I'm doing drills, cross score forehands, cross score backhands. All right, let's go 2-2-1s, two forehands, go backhand, just run. Play games where it's baseline to the net, stuff like that. So sometimes I'll play doubles and serve. But yeah, I'm out there to love the game and get in a good workout.
That is awesome. So let's do this. Let's step back from the tennis for a little bit, and let's talk a little bit about your broadcasting career and how that got started, I guess, maybe coming out of college.
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, I've known since third grade that that's what I wanted to do. And so that was it. Like I truly don't believe in a plan B. I'm like, have a plan A, believe in yourself, be passionate about it, and make it happen. And so I was willing to go anywhere and, make any amount of money and do whatever. But it was always sports and it was always TV. And so, when I graduated college, I sent out tapes all over the country. There was a website called tvjobs.com. And, when a job would pop up, I would, put it, send my tape with a cover letter and hope that they got back to me. And most of the time they did not. I was like, tell me that I suck, like whatever, like just give me some sort of response. But most of the time you got nothing back. And then there was a station in Alpena, Michigan, which is the third smallest TV market in the country. Literally it goes Glendive, Montana, North Platte, Nebraska, Alpena, Michigan. There's 210 TV markets in the country. So I drove out there, I rented a car. My car broke down on the way home from Chicago. And so I had to rent a car, go up there. There's literally nothing there. It's the middle of nowhere. The super Walmart is the height of Alpena, Michigan. It was snowing because the interview was in December. The station's in a red pole barn with big white letters, WBKB, which I then learned as I started to work there that people refer to it as WBKB. We barely know broadcasting. But no, I mean, it was a great experience. I learned more there than I probably did in 4 years of college because you're just doing it, right? I think in this business, experience is all that matters. And so I was a one-man band. I literally, shot all my own video, edited all my own video, produced everything, wrote everything, ran my own teleprompter. I basically covered 16 high schools, and I would go out, and other than Alpena High School, it was at least a half-hour drive, sometimes like 2 hours, because although it was a small market, we covered a quite big part of Michigan. So, Michigan is like this, and like Alpena's up here, and so the demographic was like that. And yeah, I made $14,000 a year. So my 2-week paycheck after taxes was something around $400, I want to say. I was not getting rich out there, but I was getting wealthy in experience, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. And so started there. Then I got a job in Madison, Wisconsin. It's kind of like the part-time number 3 guy, would report and fill in anchor, making $10 an hour, much bigger market. So I got to cover University of Wisconsin athletics, the football team there, the basketball team there, and also got to cover the Green Bay Packers on Sundays. I would go up to Lambeau, incredible experience. Once again, shooting everything myself. I'm out there in the frozen tundra. I got gloves on, triple socks on, big coat, the whole deal. But I'm there, and I'm part of the action. And then got a job in Saginaw, Michigan, which is kind of like it's Saginaw, Flint, Bay Cities, Midland is the market. It's mid-Michigan. And when I got there, the Pistons were on their way to winning the NBA Finals, and so I got to go down to Auburn Hills and the Palace and cover all those games, watch them beat Kobe, Shaq, and the Lakers. I mean, this was like Chauncey Billups and Rip Hamilton and Ben Wallace, Tayshaun Prince, all those guys. Yep. And so, that was really cool to be a part of. And the Super Bowl was in Detroit when I was there. The MLB All-Star Game was at Comerica Park while I was there. Tiger Woods was playing the Buick Open while I was there, so I would cover that down in Grand Blanc. So a lot of big sports things were happening. Michigan State went to the Final Four, men's and women's, so I got to cover them, do that. Football as well. And then from there, I went to Philadelphia, worked for Comcast Sportsnet. I got a job doing, regional, so three local markets, and then, made the move to the regional sports network. Was there for 3.5 years, and then went to ESPN and hosted Sports Center and all the shows basically at ESPN for 5 years, and then here I moved to LA and started working at Tennis Channel and NFL Network, and just really, really grateful for the whole journey, and it's been amazing. I wouldn't change a thing.
So, Steve, I want to dig into some of the movements that you made, because first of all, that's incredible. It really is, seriously, because Bryce and I know about the hustle. You got to go where you need to go in order to build that experience. I guess my question to you is, when you were going from Michigan to Wisconsin, back to Michigan, and making these moves, what was your thought process as far as making those changes? So what led you away from Alpena, I think is what you called it? Alpena to go to Wisconsin. what was sort of the thought process as far as making the moves that you made?
Yeah, so it was all about what's the next step. For me, when I graduated college, I had a 7-year plan. It took me 8 years, literally from the day that I started in Alpena, Michigan. I think it was like January 10th or 11th, 2002. And I got to ESPN, I think January 10th, 2010. So nearly 8 years to the day. But so it was always, what's the next step? What's the next step? That's the goal. So, I like to say goals without plans are just dreams, right? So you got to make a plan and you got to make it happen. And, I kept grinding and believing. And a lot of times along that process, you'll run into some folks who, one, are not willing to go anywhere, to get there, and they're like, actually, this is not for me. I would rather make more money in a big city, not doing television. Some people maybe go to a place. I have a friend in Madison, Wisconsin, who's now married with kids there and has been the main anchor for a long time. That was also not my plan. I knew where I wanted to get and what I wanted to be. And so it was always what's next. And with that, Isaac, comes a lot of sacrifice, right? Because it's a very transient lifestyle. And so I think kind of like a professional athlete, and especially a professional tennis player, you got to be a little selfish. And, when you're making these moves and not have outside influences affect that, because I knew where I wanted to get to and what I wanted to do. So that was always the mindset. It was like, all right, I'm here to get to the next place. I'm here now to get to get a couple great stories. What can I put on my tape? What can I put on my reel to get to that next place? And so that's always what I was thinking. Anchoring a show. All right, can I clip off this segment, to put on my reel? What can I do better and better and better to get to that next place?
You know what? I just thought about something. Speaking of Princeton High School, and I don't know if you were serious about knowing about Princeton and Cincinnati.
What's the mascot?
The Vikings.
Vikings. Okay.
So when you were at ESPN, did you know Jason Jackson?
He was not there when I was there. I think he predated me there.
Okay.
I want to say he was in Miami when I was at ESPN.
Yes, he was in Miami. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was there 2010 to 2015.
Okay, gotcha. We went to high school together. He was a year behind me at Princeton.
You play tennis?
No, he didn't play tennis, but he was an amazing drummer.
Okay.
Amazing drummer, yeah. We were both big in student government. But anyway, that being said, listening to your journey and the commitment that you had to achieving what was your ultimate goal is great. And then, because you have covered so many different sports, for you to land covering the sport that you love the most, right? I don't know how often that happens, if you just kind of have to cover what the opportunity provides, but getting to the Tennis Channel, covering the sport that you love, working with, like you said, previous idols and role models of yours in the sport, you had to feel good about that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. When I was at ESPN, any chance I got to do tennis, I took advantage of. So I was able to cover the U.S. Open, the Australian Open, and Wimbledon multiple times for the DirecTV Mix channel that on ESPN3. And so, that was incredible. And that's where I met a lot of the folks. I first worked with Chanda Rubin at ESPN. I first worked with Mark Woodford at ESPN, Luke Jensen, Murphy Jensen, Taylor Dent, just a slew of folks that, gave me the opportunity to get into this sport, do that. I even covered UT tennis for the Longhorn Network. So I was like, get me out of Connecticut, put me Austin, Texas, LA, London, wherever. Like, no offense to people who love Connecticut, but it's not the place for me. So, so that helped a lot. And so when I left ESPN, there were some folks at Tennis Channel that had worked there previously, and I sent an email, and it was, March of 2015. And I think I did my last show was like the 6 p.m. Sports Center on January 31st, 2015. And so in March, Mark Woodford, who's become just a dear, dear friend, him and his family, they live in Mission Hills in the desert. And so he was like, why don't you come out to the desert, and I'll get you a gig with BBC Radio, and you can stay at the house and just kick it here for a week. And I said, all right. And so I had emailed somebody at Tennis Channel. And so, my boss, Bob Wiley, I was supposed to meet with him when I got to Indian Wells. And so I got off the plane at LAX, just like Miley Cyrus. And then, drove straight to Indian Wells, was supposed to meet with Bob, get a call. He's like, hey, I can't meet with you, but would you, do play-by-play for the first 2 days as kind of like a paid audition? I was like, absolutely. And so the first match I called at Tennis Channel was Marty Fish's comeback, from the whole anxiety stuff. And Marty had become a good friend of mine just through friends at ESPN. And so when I would come out to LA for a variety of things, I would like hang out with Marty. Just an awesome dude. And so it was very meaningful for me to call that match. He played Ryan Harrison. And I remember, like, writing is a big deal to me, and to be creative with my writing, and that is important. And I think that's the backbone of what I do. And so I remember I wrote this whole intro for the match, and I'm in the booth, and it's with Jim Courier, who I hadn't met before, but because I was staying at Mark Woodford's house, and he's known Woody forever, was like, oh, like, he must be cool, like fellow Hall of Famers letting him stay at his house. So I'm eternally grateful to Woody, for putting me in that situation. And I remember I did the intro, and then Mary Carrillo, who's obviously GOAT legend, comes over. I'd never met her before, and she kisses me. I have like my headphones on, everything, kisses me on my head. And I was like, wow, like I literally got goosebumps. And I was like, I'm accepted, like that's the approval that I don't know that I needed, but certainly made me feel like I was a part of the team. And so I called I think I called Sloane's match the next day, and Bob was like, you killed it. We're going to keep, bringing you out to do some more stuff. And then they brought me back to LA to do Miami that year, and were flying me back and forth because I was still living in Connecticut. And then I had my audition at NFL Network April 7th of that year, and they hired me to host their morning show. So then I was living at the Marina Del Rey Marriott from July to October of 2015. So I'm waking up early doing the morning show for NFL Network, but then I flew to DC to do the City Open for Tennis Channel that year, and flew to New York to do the US Open that year. And then in December of that year, I'm just like, what am I doing in Connecticut? All my life, all my happiness, all my joy is in an opportunity is in LA. And so I moved myself out here. And I truly believe, guys, that when you put your energy in a certain direction, it manifests. And when you believe in something and put all of your efforts into it, it becomes that. And so, the day after I moved here, NFL Network signed me to a contract, and Tennis Channel soon after signed me to a contract, and it's just been such a blessing ever since.
Man, look at Steve dropping the nuggets. Come on,
Right?
man. Dropping
Right?
the nuggets. I love that, man. Love that story. And you're right. You have to be intentional, and you have to really focus in on what you are going after, which is incredible. A question for you, Steve, in regards to Tennis Channel Live. Was that something that was already going when you came on board to Tennis Channel, or and how did that work out as far as you kind of jumping into being the lead and the one holding that down?
Yeah, it's always, I believe TC Live has always been, the backbone of Tennis Channel. It's kind of like the Sports Center of Tennis Channel.
Right.
And it's just kind of grown over time, doing it a little bit here and there, and then doing it more and more and more. And the role has just developed over the years. And, I've been grateful to have incredible bosses that believe in me and have, put me in a wonderful position to succeed, and, kind of brought me along in a process that didn't throw me into the fire right away, but allowed me to grow and, become as comfortable as possible, and develop, all the relationships, and, put it to where it is today, where I think, we have the best analysts in TV. And so for me, that's my job, right? I'm the point guard. I'm the guy that's distributing the rock. And I'm just like, whatever I can do to put them in a position to succeed, that makes me successful at the end of the day, right? So if they're not comfortable, I'm not being successful. So that's my role, is to know my analysts and know what they want, what they need, and what I need to do to put them in the best position, because everybody's different. And so some people would want a question or want to know something ahead of time. Some people don't want to know anything ahead of time. Other people may want to be teed up with a statement because they'd rather just go wherever they want to go with it, as opposed to being pinned down to a specific question. And so it's kind of knowing how everybody, likes to do their thing, and me kind of be the guy in the middle to dish the rock.
Well, you know what? Let's stay with that basketball theme, because I'm feeling that a little bit. So being the point guard, because I love basketball, if you're the point guard, you really know the players on your squad. You know what they can do, how they best want the ball, whatever, where they're going to be on the court. So if you were to go through a short list of people or analysts or co-hosts that you work with on Tennis Channel, give us kind of like a 3, 4, 5 word description of them, when you think about them being on the show and how you pass the rock to them.
Yeah, I mean, all right, let's start with Andy Roddick, who I've worked with since the pandemic, and is just one of the greatest humans on the planet, somebody that obviously I grew up looking up to. I mean, we're around the same age, but, he was the man. And so, as a tennis player, that's the guy winning the U.S. Open. That's the American getting to 1 in the world. And when I meet him and start interacting with him on a personal level, and he's so cool, it's rare, I think, that like those type of people live up to anything, and he has surpassed all of that, which is amazing. I mean, just the best teammate, that you could have. And the thing with Andy is I could literally give him anything, Bryce. Like, I could ask him a question, I could give him a statement, I could probably say nothing, and he'll take it and do some genius work with it. Obviously, the way he knows the game inside and out, his humor, his quick wit. So that's somebody that I can do anything, and he'll literally tell you, he's like, whatever you do, it's all good. And then, it's knowing, like with Lindsay, she is one of the most perceptive humans I have ever met in my life. Like, she'll see something on the court, in the player box, or, just on the changeover, something like that literally becomes what's happening after that. But she'll see it, minutes ahead of time, which, I'm always fascinated by, like the way she's able to. She sees tennis and honestly sees life. Like, she's just an extremely perceptive human, which is awesome, and lovely as well. And her whole family. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I've been able to hang out with her kids since they were, super little. Paul Anacone, I've been to his house for Thanksgiving, and Tracy and her 3 sons, have become buddies of mine, and seeing them grow up. And now Brandon's playing, and, Tracy is so much fun to work with, and a much more I think when she played, she was a little more structured as well, and like knowing exactly what to do when, but doing it perfectly. And Chanda, who's also just kind of, Chanda's like my ride or die, she always has my back. And, we go way back. Like I've known Chanda since probably some of my first broadcasts in like 2011 or something like that. And so, she also can tell me, more so of like, if I'm doing something that's good or bad or can be better or something like that. I have, complete trust in her. And, folks like Taylor Townsend and Chris Eubanks, who I've started working with, Monica Puig, Coco Vandaway, all the newer players are super chill. Like it's very easy to work with. And, we've also had relationships for longer. So when I'm getting thrown initially into Tennis Channel and meeting Hall of Famers, right? Like a Martina Navratilova, who, by the way, is so cool as well. Probably the most like humble rock star that I've ever met. I mean, she's, literally the GOAT, and, acts like anybody else, and is just, we'll be at a tournament. She'll be like, "Hey, you want to get dinner tonight?" I'm like, "Absolutely."
My dream. My dream.
And, so brilliant and cool and all that. But initially, it took a minute to get to know Martina, because she's like, "Who's this guy coming in? I don't know him from anything." And so now, we have a great relationship. Whereas, when Coco was playing on tour, we were buddies. When Monica was on tour, I knew her. Obviously, Taylor and Chris, I've gotten to know really well. My birthday a few years ago, Eubanks came, and, it's those type of experiences that make the broadcast better. So the more, the more somebody off air or off court or whatever it may be, translates on air. And so I truly value those friendships. And I think that's what translates. And hopefully the viewer sees that, and sees that we're not just, host, analyst, question, answer sort of situation. It's like, a couple of homies hanging out,
Now, wait a minute. There is one person you did not name.
Okay. I knew. It was for sure gonna happen. Now you're gonna call it out. I'm gonna feel horrible. Who didn't I name?
Who did we give you a message from this morning?
Oh, that goes without saying. Here's the thing. So Prakash, Salt and Pepper, S&P, that's my guy. We've gotten to work together a lot more recently, which has been awesome. And so usually, my guy's in Rome right now. I send him DMs when I'm sleeping, like funny things. And then he'll wake up in the morning, and like today it was like LMAOOOO. Like, so we just like always go back and forth, and he's always sending me I don't know if we always talk about like who's got that dog in them on air. And so he'll send me these memes on Instagram of like some with a dog reference. And it's just hilarious. So no, Prakash is amazing. And I think we've developed a really cool rapport, because we kind of we're on the same wavelength. Not everybody necessarily is. Some references that I drop on TC Live, I don't know that everybody gets them that I'm working with, and that's fine. But Prakash probably does, and I pick up what he's dropping as well. And so it's really cool to be with somebody who, has a similar vibe, a similar kind of genre that they're pulling from. And his energy is my energy, right? So I'm at like a 12 out of 10 or something like that. Some people are like, why are you screaming? It's not like I'm just excited, right? Like I love the sport. I'm passionate about it.
Exactly.
And I'm not trying to whisper when I'm talking. So that's how I'm going to be always. And that's what's gotten me to where I am right now. And so Prakash is there with me, and there's not a lot of people that are. And so I love that. I'm an energy guy. I vibe off of that. And so, but he's also just a super kind and thoughtful individual, and the positivity thing for me. So I don't really get along with people who are negative, or there's a lot of folks that complain a lot. I'm not a complainer, and I'm not a glass half empty kind of guy. Like, it's always half full. It's always positive. We can always, things can be a whole lot worse, right, in life. And so I try to approach life with a lot of gratitude and a lot of positivity. And he is that same way. And so I really dig that. And I learn a lot from him as well. And it helps me. And so if I can get better, that's what I'm trying to do every day. I mean, I'm not the greatest version of I don't think we're ever the greatest version of ourselves, because we can always be better, and that's okay. So that's something that I learned from Prakash, and it's fun to be with him.
Again, Steve, dropping those nuggets. First and foremost, Steve, as a fan, I love the energy. Love it. And again, that energy brings people in. And that's what folks don't really fully understand, is it brings you in and it makes you feel like you're a part of that conversation. So I love it personally. I'm going to flip it on you. Another question. We're putting you on the hook once again. I need to know, who's your favorite parent? You gotta give me that one. I love it.
I don't have children, Isaac, but if I did, I feel like this would be that question, right? Where you can't pick a favorite child. It's a family. I love them all. Right. So I knew you were going to ask me this, and there's no answer. I mean, like, I truly love everybody, and that's rare. Also, like, like my history and television, and I've been a lot of places. That's not normal to love everybody that you work with. But I do. And we call it the Tennis Channel family. And there's a reason behind that, because it really is. It's not a large group, right? It's a pretty small group, and tennis in general, I believe, is a family, and like I said, like all that it has provided me. And I think that tennis there's 1 degree of separation. So if I don't know that person in the world of tennis, somebody I know will, and vice versa. It's just like that small of a group. And so, no, I mean, listen, I enjoy everybody at Tennis Channel, and I'm humbled to be a part of it.
That is awesome. A great answer.
Yeah. Now, this is something I know you can answer. So being, a tennis fan, growing up, idolizing people, who were your players? Who were the initial ones, both male and female, that's my guy, that's my girl?
Agassi was my guy. I mean, Agassi's still my guy. Andre was, I wrote a paper in, I think, 11th grade, and it was like the server versus the baseline or something like that. And it was just a whole metaphoric comparison on many levels, but it started with Andre and Pete, really. But me being an Andre guy, and that's really where my 11th grade AP English is where I became confident in my writing, and that piece that I wrote was one of the things that developed that. And so, but when Andre followed me on Twitter and Instagram, which he doesn't follow that many people. I've told this story before, but that was a big deal to me. That's my hero. And so I still have not met the man.
Really?
And I'm hopefully will at some point, and hopefully we'll be able to get out on court with him and Steffi, because Steffi was also somebody that, I really thought was amazing, growing up, watching tennis. She won everything, and very easily. But I watched everybody that I worked with. I mean, like, I was a Lindsay fan. I was a Chanda fan. I was a Martina fan. I was obviously a Roddick fan. I was a Courier fan. So, but Agassi was my guy, above all. And then, Serena and Venus were, huge growing up as well. Just mega stars and obviously winning. Like what they're able to do and overcome was so cool. But I think those were probably the Americans, were the ones that I looked up to and tried to, and rooted for and wanted to win all the big events.
Well,
It's funny.
go ahead, Bryce.
I'm sorry. It's funny because my two favorites are Americans, but they didn't start off as Americans. Just to hear you talk about Martina Navratilova, she is my during the time that I came up, she was the one who was winning everything and winning things easily in singles and doubles and mixed doubles and across the board. And she's the one that I'm always looking for on the ground. It's like, I can find Martina Navratilova. Just, she's going to probably think, who is this guy? Get him away from me. And then on the men's side, it was Yvonne Lindell. And for like how you talked about that Pete Andre rivalry, for me, it was the McEnroe Lindell rivalry. And I've heard Lindell is hilarious in person. And so those are the two that that are probably at the top of my can't wait to meet one day list. Well, they're probably both right under Federer, but
I would say that the Swedes were also. I really loved Stefan Edberg and Mats Wilander. Like those two guys. So I actually got to work with Mats a few years back in Newport. He was a part of our TC Live shows from the Hall of Fame, and so that was really cool because he was one of the dudes that I grew up watching and thought was awesome. I thought Edberg was awesome too. So I guess of non-Americans, those two kind of stood out.
Good stuff. I was going to say the backhand comment that you were talking about, Andre Agassi, and the fact that your backhand and backhand down the line.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Sense. Because Andre's my guy as well, Steve. I mean, I
wore the bandana. I did the whole thing.
Yeah, like you and Bryce, I didn't start off in high school, but I started playing tennis when he won the French Open back in '99.
Yeah.
And that's actually, Andre is the one where I learned my two-handed backhand, and that's my shot as well. So
I love it. I love it. So we can do the cross-court backhands for days.
We can work that out, bro. We can work that out. So my question, Steve, throwing it back to you is, if the current kind of crop of players that we have, men and women, kind of what are your thoughts and who are you vibing with on both the ladies and the men's side?
I think we're in a great space right now for tennis because we're in that sort of transition on both sides. Although the women's side has kind of fermented itself as to what we are right now, especially what we're seeing in Rome with the top 3 women in the world making a semifinal for the first time in over a decade. I mean, that's crazy. 2013 Roland Garros, that 1, 2, and 3 all made the semis of the same event. And so to have Iga Swiatek and Arina Sabalenka, Coco Gauff, obviously Elena Rybakina, I think, those 4 have separated themselves from the rest of the field. Although Danielle Collins may get there by the end of the year.
Exactly.
Win these days. And it's an exciting time because, like with Coco, she's still so young. And so I always, before every major, I'm like, why not Coco? You're not going to convince me that she wouldn't. So can she? Absolutely. There's a bunch of American players on the men's side that I'm really excited about. Obviously at the top, Novak's Novak, who's the GOAT. Alcaraz and Sinner are incredible, but I've said before that I feel like we've been kind of conditioned to believe that if you are at the top of the game, because of what, Roger, Rafa, Novak, and Serena have done, you expect them to make the semifinals or finals every single week. And that's not normal. That's not how it's going to be. These folks are not that, at least not yet. When, an Alcaraz or a Sinner or a Runa or whoever, Coco, if they lose in the second round, it doesn't shock me. Like,
right.
It's just to expect them to be with the big 3 and Serena have been for 2 decades is not fair because those are the GOATs and there's a reason why they're the GOATs. And so, but it's still exciting, to have all these, new faces and incredible talent. And then Ben Shelton's somebody that I truly believe in and think will get to number 1 in the world, will win a Grand Slam. So I was able to have dinner with him last summer and was just really impressed with the way I've never known at the time. I think he was 20. I've never known somebody at that age who truly understood who they were as a human. Like you could be 40 or 50 years old and still not know who you are, right? So this guy, to me, knew exactly who he was. And I was like, wow, like if you can figure that out at that age, the world is your oyster. You can do whatever you want. And so that combined with what I believe is an incredible confidence. I don't think it's cockiness. I know there's a fine line, but I think he truly has a confidence in who he is as a human, but is also a real guy, and very honest and open. And so that's somebody that I think, can revolutionize the current crop of players and take the sport to the next level. If we get an American to do that, Taylor and Tommy are awesome as well. And Francis is one of my favorite people on the planet. I mean, we talk about energy.
Yeah.
Big Foe is that guy. You can't help but smile when you're around him, be in a good mood. And he brings that electricity, he really does. So I've been fortunate enough to, have dinner and spend time with him. And I love that kid. But I also, like all the Americans that I've gotten to kind of get to know, and I think they're awesome. And I've said before, in Charleston, every year I kind of make a new best friend. And this year it was Danielle Collins. And in the past it was Dasha Kazakina, who's, my girl for life. Ange Jabeur. So, it's really cool to be able to get to know these players on a personal level. And because I don't think the fan sees any of that. And so I said on a podcast recently, people judge a player based on what they're seeing on court. And that is their place of work, right? That is their office. And so whatever they need to do in that space to achieve greatness, that is what they do. And that doesn't mean that's who they are. And so off court, you can be a completely different person. I'm a different person off air than I am on air, right? Like I'm not a 12 out of 10 when you see me walking on the street. Like I probably don't even want to talk to you. Like I'm just like minding my business. I'm just kind of not like I just hang out by myself. Like I do my hot yoga. I watch the sunset. I eat my acai bowls and chill. Like I'm not. If you see me in a group at a party, like I'm probably not the one talking. So like everybody is different, and to judge somebody based upon who they are on court, in my opinion, is not fair. So I'm grateful to be able to learn who these people are as humans.
Right. Well, one of the questions. No, it was a great answer. I love it. And it actually kind of leads into my next question, which is, this is a question we've been asking people on shows recently. And there's been a lot of talk about what do we need to do to get tennis more popular in the United States? I mean, you go to other countries and, people are crazy about tennis. And you come to the United States and we have a history of champions in the sport, a strong history, but yet it's, the maybe 6th or 7th ranked, sport in the country behind obviously the larger ones. In your mindset, what's something that needs to happen to increase the population, the popularity of tennis in the States? And maybe why was there a misstep with the whole Breakpoint series? Why didn't that do the job when we thought that it might make some inroads there?
All right, so I'll start with Breakpoint. I loved it as a tennis fan, but what it was lacking, I think, was more of the drama and more of the honest reality of what's going on. You didn't see the stuff that I think people would love to see in the inner workings. It was more like a positive piece, and it just, I don't know, like if I'm going behind the scenes, I want to see what's really happening. And I think there were a lot of agents and managers that were like, no, you can't show that. So if it's a reality show and it's not real, I don't think it's going to be successful. Right. So that's that. In order for tennis to be a bigger sport, I don't think it's ever going to surpass NFL football or basketball.
Baseball.
really, maybe, I don't know. Baseball's struggling a bit, but it's still baseball.
Exactly.
Allegedly America's pastime.
Mm-hmm.
Hockey. I mean, I'm a hockey fan. I love all sports. I really do. But what we need for tennis to get to the level that it was at, like what you're talking about before, is to have those players. So you need to have a number one player in the world. You need to have players that are winning Grand Slams. That's it in this country. Like we're a winner-based society. So if you win, you're on a pedestal and you can take over the world. I mean, there's a reason why Serena Williams is a transcendent figure on the planet, right? It's not just tennis. You mentioned Serena to somebody on the street, they know exactly who she is. Maybe they know through tennis. Maybe they know through one of the other, avenues, or just, she's a celebrity. That's just because of what she achieved on a tennis court. Andy Roddick is a celebrity because of what he achieved on a tennis court, but he got to number one. He won a Grand Slam. If you're not winning slams and you're not number one, that's what's holding us back. So when Coco gets to one and solidifies herself as, winning multiple majors, that's a major step. If Ben does that, I think it's going to change, or Francis or Taylor, Tommy, whoever it is, that's going to change the outlook on tennis in this country because of the fact, like when Roger Federer made more money off of endorsements than any athlete on the planet, like more than Messi, more than Ronaldo, more than LeBron, more than Brady. So as a tennis player, you can be the number one earning athlete on the planet, but you got to win, And so if you have an American doing that, you're going to be on the cover of Vogue. You're going to be on the cover of GQ. You're on the cover of all the magazines. You're going to be on the Today Show. You're going to be on, you'll be everywhere. You just have to win. So
good point.
That's a perfect answer. Got to be the best. Yeah.
When people argue about like somebody didn't get a wild card in here, or like isn't getting this or that, it's like win more. Like tennis is the ultimate meritocracy. Like you're complaining about somebody that can't survive and they're ranked 150 in the world. Okay, be better. Be in the top 100. In the top 20.
Isaac, I think we have a new phrase, the win more. We're going to have to use that on some shows, right?
Yes, we are.
Steve, we're going to rip that one from you. We'll give you credit. But
I'm not saying it's easy, right? It's not easy. It's a grind. The struggle is real. But at the end of the day, that's the answer.
Yeah.
Win more.
Yeah.
Win more, be better.
Be more. Exactly. There you go, Steve.
I love it.
Oh, it makes me laugh. That's so funny, but it's so true. Steve.
Not that hard. It is hard, but like
it's like conceptually not that hard.
Yeah.
Steve, as commissioner, if you are commissioner of this great sport of ours, tennis, what is something that you would either implement or change in the sport itself?
Bring you all in. Make you all like superstars. Have Bryce and Isaac everywhere. That's number one. And then from there, honestly, I think tennis, I love the sport. I don't think there's like a lot of things that are wrong. Everybody's trying to fix everything. But I like the 1 week events better than the 2 week events. Like I like that on a Friday you're in the quarters, and then the semis on Saturday, and Sunday we've got our final, and that's how it kind of plays out. So I know it's not going there, and at the end of the day, it's all about money and business and money. So that's why they're doing the 2 week events, and that's fine. But I do prefer the 1 week events. So there's not a ton that I would change necessarily. I think. Everybody says the season's too long. It is too long. It definitely is. But the players that are complaining about that are then also playing exhibitions in December. And I understand why. Once again, money. If you're getting paid $500,000, $1 million to show up somewhere, I get it. We all have a price, and I'd probably go too. But then you can complain, but it's just hypocritical. Yeah. So. And there's plenty of hypocrites in the world, so I'm just calling it out. But I think the season needs to shorten at somewhere, because it's just doesn't play out. Like the injuries happen. We see Sinner's injured right now, middle of a season, might not play Roland Garros. Alcaraz has been injured a whole bunch of times, and he's only 21 years old. And so that hurts the game when all of your top stars are not competing against one another every week. Also, I'm a fan of the no let rule. So like lets on serve. I mean, like why on serves can you not have a let, but every other part of the game you can have a let, right? Like and just have a little ball trickle over, and it's fine on a return. It's fine on a volley. It's literally fine anywhere but a serve. Like it's happen on a serve. So yes. So if it came down to a lucky point on match point, just like anything else, like that could happen on the return where it's lucky and it just trickles over. So yeah, that for me is something that could be a quick fix to maybe speed up the game a little bit. But I also, one of my pet peeves is like somebody that tosses the ball and catches it a whole bunch of times. Like, I think there should be a limit to that. I don't know what the number is, but maybe like 1%, you know, like, hit the ball, like stop.
Right.
Like, you're a professional tennis player. Like,
I love it. Do better.
Win more.
So Steve, you know, the one thing that Isaac and I probably love even more than tennis is music.
Okay.
And so we never, although you've told us so much about you today, and we feel like we kind of know you.
Yeah.
We never really know somebody until we hear what's in the headphones. So let us know, who do you listen to? Who are your favorites?
Yeah. I'm somebody that's constantly changing. So, you know, I do have my like certain Spotify playlists that I'll come back to now and again. And it's very diverse. So I've got Eminem, I've got Jay-Z, I've got Lil Wayne, I've got Nas, but then I have Counting Crows, Oasis, Smashing Pumpkins, and then that from all that to, I mean, like emerging new artists. So there's a guy, Connor Price, who's out right now just like dropping jams. Like you'll see him a lot on like people use his songs for their Instagram stories or reels or stuff like that. So he's somebody I'm listening to a lot currently. I mean, I love the Kendrick Drake stuff going back and forth. So that's been fun to see. There's a guy, Miles Smith, who literally his song Stargazing, it's out right now. It's this British guy. That's one of my favorite songs of this second, you know, that I like a lot. There's this guy Shabuzi, who has a song. It's called A Bar Song Tipsy. Like those two songs, like on this day, what is it? Thursday, May 16th, 2024. Like love those two songs right now. Literally, we'll play them on repeat. But that's like a separate, like one of them's a little more country. Like I'm into Morgan Wallen these days. I never grew up country, but you know now I dig it. So I love music. So and this, please don't take offense to this, but when I'm in my car driving, I'm a music guy. Like I'm not listening to podcasts. So
no, that's true.
Yeah, same.
I don't listen to a lot of podcasts because I listen to music. I think music is so transformative and can affect your emotional state in so many ways. If you're sad, it can make you happy. If you're happy, it can get you juiced and jammed up and you know, rearing to go. I am motivated by music. It's such a powerful, beautiful part of our world. And so I'm always listening to music, trying to find the next song that I literally want to play on repeat because I am that guy. Like I find a song. So there's, you know, like those two songs that I mentioned, like I don't even think they're on my Spotify, but I don't pay for Spotify. So like I go to YouTube and I listen to it and then I scroll back, listen to it again, scroll back, listen to it again until I'm bored of it, you know?
I love it. First, it's Steve. I tell you what, you first and foremost earned kudos with me because I remember Coco Golf coming to your desk this past March at Indian Wells, and you said, we're going to sing you the real happy birthday. And no one caught that. I was like, he's talking about the Stevie Wonder version, isn't he? And you sure were. And I was like, Steve is my dude from here forward.
Is there another one?
There is not. Thank you.
Yeah.
You my dude.
And nobody was, by the way, Prakash did not join in.
He did not get.
No.
I was shocked
Said he was
about
going
that.
to drop. Yeah, he was capping. So that's another thing we go back and forth, like no cap, like nobody knows what the hell we're talking about on Tennis Channel, but like
Right.
you do.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
But yeah,
Well,
no,
Steve,
there's only one birthday track. It's Stevie Wonder.
it is. It is. Well, Steve, this hasn't even felt like an interview. This has truly felt like what we like our interviews to feel like. Three friends together talking, chopping it up, just happens to be recorded. We want to give you an opportunity, to shout out any potential projects or things you're working on that the listeners can follow. And
yeah, I mean, like we got TC Live coming up later today. I'm about to hit the shower and get all suited and booted and head in. Keep watching that every day throughout till the end of Rome, and then I head to Paris, and super stoked to be back there for the, I want to say, 8th year with my TC family. So, what a blessing it is to be able to go to Paris every year and be a part of, Roland Garros and that incredible event. So we've got a TC Live preview show May 25th, Saturday. I think it's 8 a.m. Eastern. It'll be myself, the GOAT, Martina Navratilova, Prakash, Salt and Pepper going to be back together, reunited. John Wertheim, bringing the brilliance as well. Yeah. So 4 of us doing that preview show on the 25th, and then we kick it off on the 26th. So it's 16 straight days of glorious tennis from the City of Lights. So please tune in. That's our Super Bowl. Roland Garros for Tennis Channel. That's our major. That's our Super Bowl, and we put all of our heart and soul into it. And I hope that translates and telling the story over the 2 weeks. And that's what I'm putting all my blood, sweat, and tears into, right now and for the rest of, this month and into next. And, then coming back, doing more, heading to London for Wimbledon, all that stuff. So, just grateful for all the folks that tune in and watch and support, because, without y'all, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. And I'm very, very grateful to be in the position that I'm in right now. So.
Excellent, Steve. Well, thank you once again for coming on, man. This has been such a pleasure. Such a pleasure. Lots of fun.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it. Glad that we were able to make this happen. Keep doing your thing. Y'all add a lot to our sport. I tuned in the other day to the Instagram Live. Enjoyed that as well. So keep doing your thing. Keep promoting tennis. I think anybody that can come in and put a different spin on the sport is what we need from all different angles. And so definitely a privilege to join you all today. Hopefully I can do it again at some point, and look forward to seeing you all at a tournament soon.
Absolutely. Hey, everyone, this has been Steve Weissman. Follow everything he said with the Tennis Channel. And we will continue with great interviews for the rest of the summer. So please stay tuned to Brothers on Tennis. But for now, on behalf of the podcast, this has been your boy Bryce.
And this is your boy Isaac.
And for Steve Weissman, we are Brothers on Tennis. Everyone, be well.